You know, I just had a conversation. Somebody hit me up. Damn, Reed, why you talking about Martin Luther King like that for? I said, Martin Luther King ain't really do shit for nobody but get a bunch of niggas killed and get a bunch of niggas to lose they shit. I said, cause I was around in that era. And for real, back in the 60s, 85 to 90% of the black families had a two-parent household. And not only did we have a two-parent household, but also we was business owners. And I was telling my man, I said, I never forget when I was a kid, like 12, 13, 14, when my mom died and I moved up Mount Airy, I was cutting everybody grass. Everybody up there. You got Savin Funeral Home, Mr. Savin. I was cutting his grass. Wilt Chamberlain lived up Cardizza Street. I was cutting the grass next to him. Guy Rogers, that played for the Sixers, lived on Upsall. I was cutting his grass. And a couple other people. Matter of fact, I was like only 14 or 15, and I remember I was cutting this one guy grass, Mr. Lewis, that even though he worked for SEPTA, he had a fleet of Mr. Softy trucks. And I wasn't even 16. He was like, can you drive a stick shift? And I remember all through the streets of North Philly where Darryl Shule and them lived at, Banbury Street, all up that way, he had that route. And I remember as a kid working that route. All the black people I knew was self-employed. And I was telling my man, I said, I remember the first party I did, it was based on, I had a relationship with Mr. Barnum and Jimmy Walker. Jimmy Walker was the promoter that was doing all the black concerts back then, down at the Spectrum and the Civic Center. And he used to use Mr. Barnum. They had the security detail because Mr. Barnum lived a couple driveways over. And I said, I remember the first party I did, I might have been like 14 or 15. I was at Wagner's Ballroom. I did it at Wagner's. The guy that owned it was a black guy, Mr. Preston. And I never forget because I had a little ST90 motorcycle, a little Honda. And I went around to all the schools with a fucking boom box on. And I remember this song was out because I played that song. Every time I pulled up at a school and they was letting out or going in, I had that joint, beep, beep, you and the crew, hold it. And everybody be jamming, standing around me and shit. I be giving them flyers out. And I never fucking forget, this was the first party I ever did. And it was at Wagner's. My DJs was Disco Rat and Captain Boogie. They were my DJs. Because I had two sides. And they was in that bitch battling it out. And I never forget that night because my aunt, rest her soul, I said, look, auntie, I'm gonna need some help. I said, I think you're gonna sell whatever food you get, you can sell. And take it. I was like 13, 14. I said, whatever food you get, you can sell. Because the people at the Wagner's Ballroom kept calling, we ain't have cell phones then, kept calling my auntie house. And then she was like, my phone won't stop fucking ringing. I think that party gonna be crazy. And I never forget that night when I caught the L bus down to Wagner's Ballroom. Wagner's Ballroom was right there, like right off Nedro in Broad Street. Right there where that KFC is and that Sunoco gas station. And I never forget when that fucking L bus turned the corner off Nedro on to like go on Broad Street, that line was up. That line was fucking from Wagner's Ballroom all the way up to KFC. I couldn't fucking believe it. And I never forget because that was the first time I dealt with the radio station and I had to deal with this dude called Butterball. Butterball was on the radio. At that time, Mary Mason and fucking Georgie Woods was still on the radio. No bullshit. But everybody I knew, black, had their own business. When I was cutting grass as a kid up Mount Airy, one of the first jobs I had was driving the Mr. Softy truck. The boy that owned the Mr. Softy truck, Ed Lewis, I was cutting his grass, and he was like, you know how to drive a stick shift? I was like, yeah. And I really didn't know. I only knew how to ride a motorcycle. And man, I was down where Darryl Shule and them lived at, like 15, 16, driving the fucking Mr. Softy truck. Mr. Savin, they got Savin Funeral Home. He lived up there. The boy Jimmy Walker, Mr. Barnum, all them dudes that was doing them conscious, like how you got the Mother's Day shows now, they was the niggas doing that shit back in the 70s and 80s. And, you know, I'm saying all that to say that a lot of the people I grew up with and around, you know, they all did for self. They all was self-sufficient, black, educated people. Them people that lived up Mount Airy, Chestnut Hill, they was highly intelligent black intellectuals, musicians. Like the boy Kevin Eubanks lived down the street. The other boy from the Roots lived down the street. A lot of, at one point, Wilt Chamberlain lived up the street from us. Guy Rogers lived around the corner from us. And so did Bill Cosby. But the point I'm trying to make is that everybody was doing for self, everybody stuck together, and everybody looked out for each other. See, now when niggas get money, they move into the areas with the white folks. But years ago, it didn't matter how much money you had. Them white folks ain't want you living in their fucking area. You couldn't move up to Horsham and up to Montgomery County. That's why even to this day, Bill Cosby, when he moved, he only moved across Cheltenham Avenue to Cheltenham. But see, now what they do, they use disguises on black people. Oh, come with us. We like you. You can do this and that. But at the end of the day, they get to know you. And if they don't get you, they get your children. They get your children to hate you. And next thing you know, your life is in shambles. Because at the end of the day, let's be realistic. The closest way to destroy a family is to destroy the children. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, when I be running my mouth, popping, spit, talking shit, I be saying my shit from experience. I seen it with my own eyes in my own family. Just like when I was talking about my little cousin Mary and Kyle Lowry and how that shit unfolded 10, 12 years later, nothing was done, nothing was accomplished. The family spread apart like oil and fucking water because one side went with one side, one went with the other, and nothing was accomplished. I know this shit from fact. I seen it with my own eyes. And the fact of the matter is my family was always well off, especially my aunt, because she had married the Jew boy and they had money already. We had money up there in Mount Airy. So when I be talking about King, Martin Luther King and other shit, my shit is based on experience, what I seen with my own two eyes dealing with these niggas. Even that first day I did that party at Wagner's, that fucking line was from Wagner's ballroom damn near to the 35th police district. That shit went past the fucking light. That's how crazy it was. And the black guy that owned Wagner's ballroom was trying to charge me up. He was like, man, I got to charge you extra. There's too many people. I said, if you charge me extra, and I was a kid, I said, I'll burn this fucking building down. I ain't giving you a fucking coin. And I remember telling him, I come from the streets of South Philly, nigga, I'd kill you. And I had a pistol at 13, 14. So I don't say the shit I say just because it sound good. I know from experience and seeing it with my own eyes. It don't matter what you do for these niggas or how good you treat a lot of these niggas. We find a way to sell each other out. And I'm talking about niggas that got no telling. You ain't taking that money in the grave with you. And they still would rather the white man have it than to see they own get it. And that's fact. So when I be on here ranting and raving, don't pay me no fucking mind. But my shit is official. You'll never see a nigga challenge or call me out about nothing because they know I'm telling the truth, even if they don't want to hear it. I be telling niggas, man, my first party I ever did, I had Disco Rat and Captain Boogie DJing. And all the motherfuckers that was doing parties back then, older than me, was the GQ George from Richard Allen and a couple other people. That's when the Astro disc was open and Feelings and, you know, before a lot of y'all time. It was a different Philly. Cafe the Elegance, Calico Kitchen, fucking Emerald City. You know what I mean? A cornucopia. Fucking Mr. Silks on 52nd Street. It was a different Philly. But back then, everybody knew who was getting money, and everybody stayed in they fucking lane. And for the most part, you had the selfish motherfuckers, but those of us that was really on the grind, we all looked out for each other. And with that said, do your homework. Do some fact checking. And may the force be with you.